I refused to give my parents half of my apartment after they gave everything to my brother? Update 5, Final. 30M. Never thought I'd be posting here. I've read hundreds of these stories, always grateful my family drama wasn't that bad. Turns out I was just waiting for the other shoe to drop. This is going to be long because I need to get it all out. Grab a coffee. The background. I've always known I was the backup son. Not the disappointment exactly. More like the understudy who never gets to perform. My older brother, 35M, was everything my parents wanted. Charming, confident, full of big ideas and bigger promises. He could walk into a room and own it. Teachers loved him. Extended family adored him. My parents, they worshipped the ground he walked on. Me, I was the quiet one. The one who got decent grades but not spectacular ones. The one who didn't have grand visions of empire building or wealth creation. I just wanted stability. A good job, a small place to call my own, maybe a dog someday. I accepted my role early on. When my parents paid for my brother's college in full, a private university, for years, plus spending money, and told me I'd need to figure out community college or scholarships, I didn't complain. When they bought him a car for his 21st birthday and got me a nice dinner, I said thank you and meant it. When they invested in his first business, a vape shop that lasted 8 months, his second business, cryptocurrency consulting, and his third business, dropshipping products from AliExpress, I kept my mouth shut. I worked. I saved. At 26, I bought a small apartment. Nothing fancy, just a one-bedroom with a tiny second room I used as an office. I paid my mortgage on time, every time. Built my credit. Got promoted at my IT job. Dated a wonderful woman who became my girlfriend. Life was quiet, but it was mine. My brother, meanwhile, kept chasing the next big thing. And my parents kept funding the chase. The big investment. 2 years ago, my brother came home with what he called the opportunity of a lifetime. A restaurant franchise. Well-known brand, guaranteed success, a chance to finally prove everyone who doubted him wrong. There was just one problem. The buy-in was $340,000. My brother had nothing. His credit was wrecked from the failed businesses. His savings were non-existent. But he had something better, he said. He had our parents. And our parents, they had a house. Their house was fully paid off, $360,000 in equity, the result of 30 years of mortgage payments. It was supposed to be their retirement security. Their legacy. The thing they could fall back on when they got too old to work. My brother convinced them to sell it. All of it. Give me 2 years, he promised. This franchise is a sure thing. I'll make enough to buy you a bigger house. A better house. You'll never have to worry about money again. I begged them not to do it. What if it fails? I asked. Where will you live? You're betting everything on one outcome. My mother looked at me like I'd suggested they drown puppies for fun. You're jealous of your brother, she said. You always have been. He's going to make us rich, and you can't stand that you don't have that kind of ambition. My father was gentler but no less firm. Son, family supports family. Your brother has a gift. He just needs the right opportunity to prove it. This is that opportunity. I tried one more time. At least keep some money back. A safety net. Something. My brother laughed. See, this is why you'll always work for someone else. No vision. No faith. When this takes off, I'll remember you doubted me. They sold the house. They gave him $340,000. The collapse. My brother opened his franchise location in a strip mall on the outskirts of town. Bad location, low foot traffic, no nearby attractions, difficult parking. But the rent was cheap, which he said proved he was smart about overhead. He spent $80,000 on renovations that had nothing to do with the franchise's brand guidelines. Custom fixtures. A bar area the franchise didn't authorize. Expensive equipment that sat unused. He hired his friends instead of experienced restaurant staff. His college buddy became the manager despite never having worked in food service. His high school friend handled the books despite no accounting background. The franchise headquarters sent warnings. Then citations. Then threats. 8 months after opening, the restaurant closed. My brother declared personal bankruptcy, walked away clean, and moved back in with his in-laws for a few months while he figured out his next move. $340,000, gone. Just like that. My parents were left with nothing. No house. No savings. Just Social Security checks that barely covered rent in a small apartment on the bad side of town. The expectation. For 6 months after the collapse, I helped where I could. Groceries. Some utility bills. A little extra here and there when they needed it. I didn't have much, but I shared what I could. Then one evening, my parents came over for dinner. My mom seemed nervous. My dad was doing that thing he does when he's about to ask for something he knows I won't like, overly friendly, complimenting my apartment, asking about work with unusual interest. Finally, over dessert, they got to the point. "We've been thinking," my dad said. "We're getting older. That rental is expensive, and it's not in a good neighborhood. Your apartment has that spare room you use as an office." I felt my stomach drop. "You want to move in with me?" My mom reached across the table and grabbed my hand. "Not just move in, honey. We want you to add our names to the deed. 50-50. So we have security. After everything we've lost, we need to know we won't be homeless." I stared at them. The audacity of it didn't hit me right away. It kind of rolled in like a slow wave. "You sold your house," I said finally. "You took $360,000 in equity and gave it to my brother for a restaurant. That money is gone because of choices you made. And now you want half of my apartment." My dad's face hardened. "We made a mistake trusting your brother." "That's true. But we're still your parents. You owe us." "I owe you." "I begged you not to sell. You called me jealous. You said I had no vision, no faith. You chose to bet everything on him." My mom started crying. Not the quiet kind, the heaving, theatrical kind that used to make me fold as a kid. "So you'll just let your parents be homeless? Is that what you're saying? We raised you, fed you, clothed you. This is how you repay us." They had a $360,000 house. Free and clear. Their retirement. Their security. They gave it all to my brother because he promised to make them rich. Now they want half my apartment because I'm the one who didn't gamble with my future. I told them I needed time to think. They took this as the beginning of a negotiation. The pressure campaign. What followed was the most exhausting month of my life. My mother called every day. Sometimes crying about how hard life was in the rental. The neighbors were loud, the hallways smelled, she didn't feel safe. Sometimes angry, reminding me of everything they'd sacrificed to raise me. Sometimes guilt-tripping, wondering aloud what kind of son abandons his elderly parents. My father texted Bible verses. "Honor thy father and mother. Children, obey your parents in everything." He'd never been particularly religious before, but suddenly, he was a theologian when it suited his purposes. My brother even called, first time we'd talked in months. "Hey man, I heard you're being difficult about mom and dad. You should really help them out. It's the right thing to do. I would if I could, but you know my situation." I wanted to scream. Your situation is that you took everything they had and flushed it down the toilet. And now you're calling me to fix the problem you created? Where are they supposed to live if not with you?" I asked. Long pause. "Well, I mean, my situation is complicated. Living with the in-laws, you know how it is. You could offer them a room. It's not that simple. But you have that spare room. Makes more sense." Classic. The discovery. I was venting to my aunt, my mother's sister, during a family barbecue when she let something slip that changed everything. "Your parents always said if the business failed, they'd move in with you," she said casually, like it was common knowledge. I went cold. "What?" She must have seen my face change because she suddenly looked uncomfortable. "I thought you knew. Before they even sold the house, they talked about it. Their backup plan. If it doesn't work out, we'll just move in with him. He has that apartment. He's the responsible one. He'll take care of us." I pressed for more details. She didn't want to give them, but eventually the story came out. My parents had discussed this extensively before selling. They knew the investment was risky. They knew my brother's track record. But they also knew they had me. The safety net. The backup plan. The son who always did the right thing, always helped out, always came through when they needed him. They didn't ask my permission because they didn't think they needed it. In their minds, taking care of them was simply what I would do. It was my function. My role. They weren't making a gamble. They were making a calculated decision with my resources as the collateral. My aunt told me they planned to move in with me if it failed. Before they even sold the house. I wasn't a son to them. I was a backup plan. A safety net they didn't ask permission to use. The deeper betrayal. Once I knew what to look for, I started digging. I found out that a year before the restaurant, my parents had taken out a small loan against their house. $40,000, and given it to my brother as startup costs for preliminary planning and licenses. This wasn't something they'd mentioned to me. It was secret funding, hidden support for the golden child. So it wasn't $340,000 they'd given him. It was $380,000, nearly $400,000, handed to someone with a proven track record of failure. And here's the part that still makes me see red. My brother doesn't live with his in-laws anymore. 6 months after the bankruptcy, his wife's parents bought them a house. Not a big house, not a fancy house, but a house. Free and clear. A gift to help them get back on their feet. My brother has a house now. His wife's parents bought it after his bankruptcy. He lost nothing. Parents lost everything. And somehow I'm the villain because I won't give away what I earned. The math of my family was becoming horrifyingly clear. My brother gets protected by everyone. My parents gambled their security on him, and when that failed, his in-laws bailed him out. Meanwhile, I built my life alone, without help, and now I'm expected to share what I built because everyone else's safety net somehow includes me without my consent. The confrontation. I invited my parents over for dinner. They came expecting negotiation. What they got was confrontation. I laid it all out. Everything. You planned to move in with me before you even sold the house, I said. Aunt told me. You used me as your backup plan without asking. You gave my brother $380,000. Yes, I found out about the extra $40,000. He now has a house that his wife's parents bought him after the bankruptcy. He's fine. You have nothing. And you're asking me to give you half of the only thing I have because you made a mistake. My parents looked at each other. Caught. My mother tried her usual deflection. We're your parents. The details don't matter. The details are all that matters, I said. You planned this. You just didn't plan on me saying no. The ultimatum. My father's face changed. The friendly, negotiating expression dropped, replaced by something harder. Angrier. After everything we sacrificed for you, he started. What did you sacrifice? I cut him off. You paid for his college, not mine. You funded his businesses, not mine. You never gave me $1 toward this apartment. Everything I have, I built alone while you invested in your favorite son. Now that son failed, and you want my success to cover for it. That's not sacrifice. That's entitlement. Dad said, after everything we sacrificed. They sacrificed nothing for me. They sacrificed everything for my brother. I built my life alone while they funded his dreams. Now they want my building because his dream collapsed. The room was silent for a long moment. Then my mother stood up. I see how it is. We raised an ungrateful child. We should have known. You raised a child who was always second place, I said. And you're surprised that when you need him, he's not willing to come in first just to bail you out. Update 1. The family fallout. My parents left angry that night, and within 24 hours, the extended family knew their version of events. According to them, I had refused to help my elderly, struggling parents. I had turned my back on family. I was heartless and selfish, and probably influenced by that girlfriend of his. The family split. Some relatives understood. They'd warned my parents about my brother years ago, and they saw this coming. Others thought I was being cruel. They're your parents, my grandmother said on the phone. It doesn't matter what they did. You take care of family. My brother posted on Facebook something about how real family sticks together in hard times, and how some people reveal their true character when things get difficult. The irony was so thick I could have choked on it. Brother called to say I should help them. First call in months. He didn't offer them a room in the house his wife's parents bought. Just told me to fix the problem he created. Classic. My girlfriend was my rock through all of it. You're not a backup plan, she told me. You're not responsible for their choices. They had everything and they gave it away. You don't owe them the thing you built because they threw away what they had. She was right. I knew she was right. But that didn't make the guilt disappear. Update 2. The compromise. After a week of sleepless nights and constant phone bombardment, I decided to offer a compromise. I called my parents. Look, I said. I love you. I don't want to see you struggling. Here's what I can offer. You can live in my spare room for 6 months, rent-free, while you figure out a more stable situation. No deed transfer. No ownership. You'd be guests in my home, with rules we agree on. This gives you time to save money, maybe find a more affordable place, whatever you need. There was a long silence. We're not going to be guests in our son's home, my mother said finally. We want security. Half the apartment, or nothing. Then it's nothing, I said. They refused to live with me rent-free because it didn't come with ownership. Their pride is worth more than my help. But my apartment isn't worth more than their demands. Funny how that math works. I'd offered them exactly what they claimed to need, a roof over their heads, time to stabilize, help from their son. But that wasn't actually what they wanted. They wanted control. They wanted to own a piece of me, to have leverage, to ensure I could never say no to them again. Security wasn't the goal. Ownership was. Update 3. The Year of Silence. My parents chose pride over practicality. They stayed in their expensive rental, struggling to make ends meet, rather than accept help with conditions. I replayed that phone call 100 times in my head. The way my mother's voice went cold when she said, "Guests." The way she emphasized it, like the word itself was an insult. As if accepting help that came without ownership was somehow beneath her dignity. The thing is, I understood the fear underneath it. They were in their 60s. They'd lost everything. The world must have felt terrifying and uncertain. But instead of accepting a hand up, they demanded a hand over. My hand, over my property, over my autonomy. And when I wouldn't give it, they chose struggle over compromise. The next year was strange. Holidays were awkward. I'd send cards, make brief phone calls, maintain the minimum expected contact. Real conversations, real connection, gone. My mother still wouldn't bend. Every interaction carried an undercurrent of resentment. "How's the apartment?" she'd ask, and I could hear the bitterness beneath the words. The apartment that should have been half hers. The apartment her ungrateful son refused to share. My father was harder to read. Sometimes he seemed like he wanted to say something real. Sometimes he just sighed and changed the subject. My brother. We didn't speak at all. Not a single call. Not a text. He'd gotten what he needed from the family. $380,000 in investment, a bankruptcy that wiped his debts, a house from his in-laws, and he'd moved on. I was just a footnote in his story, the jealous brother who didn't believe in him. Mom cried about being homeless. They're not homeless, they're in a rental. By choice. They could live with me tomorrow if they accepted conditions. They'd rather struggle than not own me. I threw myself into work. Got another promotion. Started putting money aside for a down payment on something bigger eventually. A real house, maybe, someday. My girlfriend moved in with me. Life went on. Sometimes, late at night, I'd feel the guilt creep in. Was I being too harsh? Should I have just given them what they wanted? Were they really that wrong to expect their son to help them? Then I'd remember my aunt's words. They planned to move in with you. Before they even sold. And the guilt would fade into something else. Something harder. Something like resolve. Update 4. The crack in the wall. Last month, something unexpected happened. My phone rang. It was my dad. Not a holiday. Not a birthday. Just a random Tuesday evening. "Hey," he said. "Got a minute?" We talked. Actually talked, for the first time in a year. Not the polite noise that had become our default, but something approaching real conversation. He told me about his days. The small pleasures of retirement, even if retirement was harder than he'd expected. A book he was reading. A show he and Mom had been watching. Then, near the end of the call, his voice changed. Got quieter. More careful. "I've been thinking," he said, "about everything that happened. With the house. With your brother. With what we asked of you." I held my breath. "Maybe we put too much pressure on you," he said. "Maybe we didn't handle things right." It wasn't an apology. Not exactly. He didn't say he was wrong. He didn't say he was sorry. But it was something. An acknowledgement. A crack in the wall they'd built between us. "Thanks for saying that, Dad," I said. "Well, just thinking out loud, I guess." We said goodbye. I sat in my apartment, still mine, still peaceful, and wondered what, if anything, it meant. Update 5. Where things stand now. It's been 14 months since the confrontation. Here's where everyone is. My parents are still in their rental. Still struggling. Still refusing my conditional offer. My mother's health has gotten worse. Nothing critical, but age is catching up. My father seems tired. They make it work, somehow, on Social Security and careful budgeting. They're not homeless. They're not destitute. But they're not comfortable, either. My brother bought a new car last month. His wife's parents helped, apparently. He started talking about another business idea, some kind of online coaching thing. I heard about it through my aunt. He hasn't contacted me directly in over a year. My girlfriend and I are talking about getting engaged. Maybe next year. The apartment still feels small sometimes, but it feels like ours. We got a dog, a rescue mutt named Charlie, who takes up half the couch and all of my heart. I don't know if my father's phone call was the beginning of something or just a momentary softening. I don't know if my mother will ever forgive me for saying no. I don't know if my brother will ever face real consequences or if he'll float through life on other people's investments forever. What I do know is this. My apartment is still mine. My life is still mine. And I'm not a backup plan anymore. Final thoughts. I keep waiting to feel guilty. Some days I do. I see my parents' faces during that confrontation, my mother's tears, my father's anger, and I wonder if I could have handled it differently. Gentler. More diplomatic. Then I remember the truth of what happened. They had everything and gave it away. I had nothing and built something. Now they want what I built because what they gave is gone. And when I said no, I became the ungrateful son. The selfish one. The one who abandoned his parents. I offered them a home. They wanted ownership. I offered help. They wanted control. Some people can't accept a gift that doesn't come with strings they can pull. My parents wanted strings. They wanted to pull them whenever they needed something. They wanted to know that no matter what risks they took, no matter how badly they bet on the wrong horse, their backup son would be there to catch them. I broke that contract. The one I never signed. And they'll never forgive me for it. Dad called last week. Actually talked, not just polite noise. Said he's been thinking. Said maybe they put too much pressure on me. Didn't apologize exactly, but it was something. First real thing he said in a year. I don't know if it leads anywhere. Maybe he's realizing that betting everything on one son and treating the other as backup isn't parenting, it's gambling with people's lives. Mom still won't bend. Brother still doesn't call. But Dad called. It's not forgiveness. It's not healing. But it's a crack in the wall they built. Maybe that's how it starts. Or maybe it's just another crack in a family that was already broken. Either way, my apartment is still mine. My life is still mine. And I'm not a backup plan anymore. I'm just a man who said no when everyone expected yes. Turns out that's the hardest thing I've ever done. And the most important. People ask me sometimes, my girlfriend, my friends, even my therapist, yes, I started therapy after all this, if I regret it. If I wish I'd just signed the deed, made everyone happy, preserved the peace. The honest answer? Some days. On holidays when the silence at our small table feels too loud. When I see other families together and wonder what that's like. When I imagine my parents in that cramped apartment and feel the weight of their disappointment pressing on my chest. But then I think about what signing over half my apartment would have really meant. It wouldn't have been generosity. It would have been surrender. Surrender to a system that treated me as a resource rather than a person. Surrender to the idea that I exist to clean up other people's messes. Surrender to a pattern that would have continued forever, because if I said yes to this, what would the next demand be? And the one after that? Some boundaries feel cruel to set. But cruelty and self-preservation aren't the same thing, even when they look alike from a certain angle. I offered what I could freely give. They wanted what I couldn't give without losing myself. Charlie's on the couch next to me as I write this, snoring softly. My girlfriend's in the kitchen making dinner. Outside, the city hums along, indifferent to my family drama. This is my life. The one I built. The one I kept. It's enough. It's mine. It's more than I ever expected when I was the kid in the background, watching everyone bet on my brother. I'm done being a backup plan. Whatever comes next, I'll face it as my own person, making my own choices. That's the lesson, I guess. You can love people and still refuse to be their safety net. You can want to help and still say no when the price is too high. You can be a good son without being a doormat. Or maybe you can't be considered a good son by everyone's definition. Maybe some people will always call you selfish. But you can be whole. You can be honest. You can be yours. And after 30 years of being someone else's contingency plan, I'll take that. TLDR, parents sold their $360,000 house to fund my brother's restaurant franchise. It failed within 8 months, money's gone. Now they want me to sign over half my apartment because family takes care of family. Found out they planned to use me as their backup plan all along. Brother now has a house, wife's parents bought it. I'm apparently the villain for keeping the apartment I bought and paid for myself. Offered them rent-free living with conditions. They refused because it didn't come with ownership. Sometimes family isn't about love, it's about who they see as their safety net without asking permission.